Green light.
Okay, thank you so much, Rachel, for inviting me into the space today. I am so excited to be a part of anything that Dare to Run is doing. I remember a couple of years in the city when Rachel first started, I had the privilege of also being a speaker. I want to say it was the first cohort, but I may be wrong. But anytime that I'm here with the Dare to Run folks, it's always very, very special for me. So thank you again for the invitation. And Rachel, thank you for all that you do to just really put these cohorts together and to share the knowledge and training that it takes to get the right people running for office and get the right people to win. So thank you. So hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Bloss, pronouns she and her. I'm a current congressional candidate for CD11. And for those of you who don't know, that's all of Staten Island, so North Shore, South Shore, Mid Island, as well as a little piece of Brooklyn. I am currently a second-time candidate. I ran for office a few years ago and came in second place. And this time we're vying for number one. And so I'll talk a little bit about my platforms. So first and foremost, I'm running on the importance of public health. I think that we all have seen what it means when communities are not fully prepared with federal funding during the time of crisis. I also have a background in public health, and I really believe the lens of the expertise that I bring into that arena can really help the district. Two, I'll be talking a lot about education. So District 31, like I said, is comprised mostly of Staten Island. And Staten Island, out of the 5 boroughs in New York, actually has some of the highest number of children with special education, even though we have some of the lowest population. So it's a very interesting statistic. And we also have, out of the 5 boroughs, when we're talking about children in grades 12 all the way down to pre-K, we have the highest number of children with the emotional disturbance category. There's lots of studies happening now that are really examining why that is. We believe that environmental justice can really tie in nicely when we're talking about these cognitive and developmental delays. Oftentimes you'll hear me talk about how legislation on a state and a federal level can really, really help our children with education. So I've done a lot of advocacy for many, many years. I served on the Community Education Council, which is island-wide, for 2 years, helping about, I would say, 8 to 9 schools, advocating for hundreds of parents to make sure that they're getting the resources they need. So you'll hear me throughout this campaign talk a lot about fully funding our public schools, more federal funding for children with special needs, and making sure that we're supporting not just our teachers, who are the hearts of our school, but also folks that provide related services, PT, OT, speech, our paras, very, very important, and things of that nature. So third, I actually touched on environmental justice. I am one of the founding members of the Staten Island EJ Coalition. I'm also a member of the Staten Island COAD. I'm also, in my work, my client work, I get to lead recruitment and retention strategies for the Clean Energy Academy across the 5 boroughs. And recently, City and State has named me in the top 100 of trailblazers in clean energy. And so you'll hear a lot in my campaign talking a little bit about environmental justice, what that means for waterfront access in our district, what that means for air quality in our district, and how we can go about making sure that we have communities that are prepared in the event of disasters. Weaved into that, I also talk a lot about fully funding our public spaces, our parks, our green parks, and the intersection between that education and public health. 2 other things that you'll hear coming out of my campaign quite a bit is touching on the opioid epidemic, as well as some mental health resources. And again, I don't know if those of you who are familiar with the district, we actually are the only borough that does not have a fully funded public hospital. So you begin to see the picture of our district, why I'm running, and really why it's important to have the right kinds of people in office. So I have a couple other points here that I'd love to share with folks before I sign off, but I have to pause for questions. Are there any questions for me?
So I don't have any questions per se, but I do just want to comment that I love that you're working on the intersection of public health and public safety and what that means for the residents of Staten Island. I think that's really important. And I think that I wish that more legislators, state and federal, would work on that in Brooklyn. Since I live in Brooklyn, my district is in Brooklyn. So I don't see them working on it the way you guys in Staten Island work on it. So I think that's really great. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you. I appreciate that feedback. So I would love to talk to some of the folks that are actually, oh, I'm sorry, Nayma, do you have a question?
No, I didn't have a question. I just wanted to just say thank you as a woman for running for office and for being so thoughtful about it.
Thank you so much. It certainly is a personal sacrifice to run for office. And I could not do this without the training of amazing organizations like Dare to Run. I'd also love to talk about an amazing organization called the Vorsby Memorial Scholarship Fund that gave me a scholarship 3 years ago to attend the campaign school at Yale University. I've also attended many trainings from the arena. So if you are someone you know is looking into running for office, definitely attend as many training sessions as you can. There are some really great free ones. I know that Dare to Run is always having different cohorts and recruitments for that as well. And so I would really just encourage you to learn all that you can. I'm also on all the social media platforms and can really point you in the direction of some amazing resources. The second thing that I would share if you're thinking about running for office is a candidate has many jobs. One of the main job for a candidate is to actually fundraise. So what's great about fundraising is it starts in your own personal network. And fundraising is a lot harder if you're not organized. So if you're thinking about running for office, get that Excel spreadsheet together, make sure your contacts are in there, it's categorized. So that way, when you're on your call time, which will probably be about 4 to 5 hours a day for most of your campaign, raising those funds, you can start with your own personal network and be extremely organized. Next, I would say a very important part of running for office is your endorsements. So wherever you can, make relationships with unions and PACs, different people that you really want to believe in you, to invest in you, and to endorse you. Some of my previous endorsements, my previous campaign was the Working Families Party, Community Voices Heard Power, the Housing PAC, really a lot of progressive organizations that believed in what my campaign believed in my platforms, and really shared the same value system that my campaign team and I shared. So those would be the things that I would say, definitely get together. And just, it's all about just sharing your passion. I think that that's really the most important thing. That's what you're going to need when the days get tough, when you've knocked 300 doors and only 2 of them have answered, or you've done 3 hours of call time and you've only raised $1,000. Always remember your why. And I will close on this. In addition to all of my professional accommodations, I'm also a mother. It's one of my proudest jobs. I have 3 beautiful daughters and 3 beautiful sons. And they are my why. They are the reason why I'm running for office. So regardless of what happens on the campaign trail, I always have my why in the forefront of my mind. And what often happens when I'm talking about policies, especially on a federal level, is I get to share that I am doing this because I want to live in a world where my 3 sons are safe when they walk down the street, and where my 3 daughters can thrive in an environment and in a community where they have choice over what happens over their bodies. So again, definitely find your why, keep that in the forefront of your mind, and reach out to folks like me. I'm always here to help, to support, and good luck on the campaign trail.
Okay, thank you so much, Sarah. That was amazing. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Words of wisdom. We really do appreciate that very much, and thank you. And I'm definitely, if it's okay with you, I'd like to share your contact information with our students in the cohort, as well as our board members. So if they have any questions or they'd like to reach out to you, I'm sure that would be great. Thank you so much.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Nayma, you're up.
Awesome. Rochelle, I think that I may need to be co-host in order
Sure, sure.
to uh to share the slides.
Let me go ahead and do that, okay? Make co-host. Okay, it says you're a co-host now. Did you see that?
Yes. All right, let
Okay.
me try it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Rochelle, I think that when the Google Slides is on, you may not be able to hear me. So let's just try that one more time.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to once you see the screen is shared, that means that I will be talking. So let me
Okay.
know if you can hear me or not.
Okay.
All right, trying it now.
Mhm. You're on mute, Nayma. Hmm.
Okay, so it's okay. What I can do is
Do you want me to try to share it for you and then see if you could present while I'm like controlling it or moving it for you?
let's see if that works. Okay.
Okay, let me see if I can
I'll
open your presentation. Hold on one second. Just a second. Okay.
let me send you the link because I did update it for today's presentation.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. Got it. Okay.
So I'll send that to you right now.
Yeah, send it to my email if you can. That'd be great. Thank you.
Artsuiza at daretorun.org, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
No problem. All right. So in the meantime, or maybe you can cut this part out. So I'll just wait for us to do the slides.
Okay. Hold on. You sent it, right? Okay.
Yes.
Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Okay.
I just put it on the chat as well, and then let me make sure uh, to add you on it just in case you need access.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it says view only though. I think you have to give me access to be able to share it.
Yeah, it's. I just sent it to your email. It's also connected to info at Dare to Run, but I just sent it to you now. Like I gave you access just now, so it should work.
Okay. Hmm. Hold on.
Okay, you got it. Yay.
Okay, let me see if I can move it though. I hope I can move it. Hmm. It's not loading. Oh, here we go. Okay, so can everyone see this? Can we see the cover slide? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Good. Hopefully I can move it. Go ahead, Naima. Mhm.
Okay, so let me start by introducing myself. Hello to everyone that is participating. My name is Nayma Silver. I'm actually an alumni from the first cohort of Dare to Run. I'm very proud of that. And I actually credit Dare to Run for preparing me very well for running for office. I was able to run for office to represent my district a couple of years ago. And I also served on the board of Dare to Run, which was also a great experience. And I believe in the mission. I believe in Rochelle and what she's doing, and I'm looking forward to Dare to Run growing even more than it has already expanded. Thank you to Rochelle and thank you to the board. So for today's presentation, it's called the AOC Effect, but I want to make sure to honor the nonpartisan nature of Dare to Run. So it's actually the AOC Trump Effect, okay? And so we're going to do a brief nonpartisan analysis on running for office through the lens of the phenomenon of AOC and Trump. So with that said, we can go to the first slide. Okay, so we are starting with the plot twist, the Trump effect. So let's first discuss the Trump effect before we talk about AOC. So I would like to present a challenge for the class. So the first question is, can you describe what effect has President Trump had in American society? And you can answer this from a local level, you can answer this from a national level, or we can look at what effect has President Trump had internationally. Okay, so we can take a few minutes for that. The idea is to discuss this amongst each other as a dialogue. And then we will identify some pros and cons to Trump's presidency, right? So depending on who you speak with, Trump is amazing. And depending on who you speak with, there is a different opinion, let's say, right? And so, one of the biggest takeaways that I would like folks to have from this presentation is that timing in politics is very important. There may be a lot of factors that support the idea of someone winning for office, and it actually completely ends up being the opposite, right? And so that's what we saw, for example, with Trump's presidency, right? There was Hillary Clinton, who, for many folks, appeared to be the front runner, had the political experience, had the financial backing, had the name recognition as well, right? Was like the person that was, let's say, scheduled to go next, right? And things didn't turn out that way, right? Trump won the presidency back in 2018, and there were a lot of factors which aligned to making that happen. And that was what I call political timing. So we can go to the next slide. And so one of the biggest factors, or one of the biggest surprise factors for folks, was the high turnout of working class white voters who identified with Trump's messaging of bringing back jobs, or let's say America first. And is this great article that I have the link to it in the next slide, and it gives a detailed breakdown of each of these sections. But basically, there are many towns, many cities, many locations in the United States that have been devastated by manufacturing jobs being sent overseas. And so when Trump ran for office, he was able to speak to those people. He was able to speak to the necessity of those people. And so that's one of the reasons why we had such a high turnout among white working class, let's say blue collar voters. And this wasn't that connection was not something that Hillary was able to do in the same way that Trump was able to. So that was a big surprise to let's say to the United States of America when Trump has such a high turnout. We can go to the next slide. And so in this article, how Donald Trump won the presidential election, it's written in the ThoughtCo website. So the link is in the bottom if anyone would like to research it. But they outline 9 main factors that led to Trump's success in 2018. So number one, we have celebrity and success, right? He had an amazing, let's say, very successful show on television, The Apprentice. But more importantly, he presented himself as a successful businessman. And he parlayed that into evidence that he would do a great job in terms of creating jobs in the United States. And that was something that people love to hear, right? So number two, we have high turnout among working class white voters. I just went over that previously. Number three, immigration, right? So Trump presented an action plan in regards to immigration, in regards to protecting the border. We may not agree with. I don't agree with the terminology that he used to refer to certain folks. However, he presented the American people with this. America first, let's protect our borders, sovereignty, right? So that was important for folks. Number four, that's in reference to the email scandal regarding Hillary Clinton. So that's what that's in reference to, James Comey and the FBI's October surprise. If we think back on 2018 and the time leading to the election, Hillary's emails, uh, it was almost like a soundbite, right? Memes were made, gifs were made. It was all the talk on social media. So that took a lot of attention away from other factors that could have been more important, right? Number five, free media. At the end of the day, whether you like Trump or not, you have to admit that he has an entertainment factor, right? Which makes people want to pay attention, whether it's to criticize or whether it's to support. So Trump was able to get a lot of free media during his candidacy. Six, we have Hillary Clinton's condescension toward voters. If we recall, there was a moment when she called the folks that support Trump deplorables. And so this was something that she ended up apologizing for at some point down the road. And she was trying to make the point of the people that are sexist or misogynist, ageist, racist, all of that. That's what she was trying to categorize as deplorables, but it was not received well, or the message was not delivered well. And that definitely cost her a lot and actually helped to strengthen the, let's say, the voter base for Trump. And when I say strengthen, I mean more so that it just riled people up to want to support Trump more. Seven, voters did not want a third term for Obama, meaning folks did not want, there were many people that did not want to support the same party as Obama because it had already been, for some folks, enough time, or they wanted a change in the policies. Number eight, we have Bernie Sanders and the enthusiasm gap. So if we think back to that time, there was a great number of voters that did not sympathize with any of the front runners. Actually, folks had wanted to support Bernie for president. So a lot of folks abstained from voting, right? And then we have Obamacare and healthcare premiums. That also was a factor against the one of the two main parties, which was the Democratic Party, and kind of connects to number seven, which is, again, voters did not want more of the same. And so Trump was seen as an alternative. And it's, for a lot of people, well, things are already bad. How much worse can they get? We might as well go with someone different. Let's go with Trump, right? So I just think that it's important to go over these factors which supported Trump's success in 2018. In addition to, there's other factors not mentioned here. I'll give a bonus factor. I'll give factor number 10, and you can research this just to, for your own intellectual pleasure, right? So another factor that led to Trump's success was that he really paved the ground. So there was an analysis done in the number of towns that were visited, and the number of towns that Trump visited in comparison to Hillary when they were both running for president. And it turns out that Trump actually logged in more miles. And what that means is that he was actually on the ground in more locations than Hillary was. So let's say, for example, in Texas, Presidents usually visit, I'm just making these numbers up. Presidents usually visit like 10 key areas of Texas. Well, Trump visited 20 key areas and went to towns that presidents had not really visited before, given much attention to. And so that was also a very important factor in Trump's success. So we can go on to the next slide. It's possible we may be having some technical difficulties. Rochelle, if it's possible to go on to the next slide.
Hi, sorry, Naima, I'm turning it to the next one. Sorry
It's
about that.
okay.
1 second.
It's totally
My,
okay.
my
Okay.
son just woke up and he's crying a little bit, so I apologize for that.
No worries. I was already getting ready for plan B. It's
Okay,
all
no,
good.
no. It's all right. I'm
Okay,
trying to forward this. It's not, that's strange. Oh, here we go. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry. Okay, Puppy, sorry.
awesome. It's okay. So, a quick overlook about this workshop. So now that we're entering more of the AOC section of the presentation, we'll just make sure that we cover our bases. We want to make sure we know what AOC stands for. Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. Okay, we did that. Number 2, who is AOC? What do most people see? What don't they see? How did AOC get to a position of power? What exactly is the AOC effect? What is the side effect to the AOC effect? And then I would like to present some self-analysis questions, some reflective questions, and why this matters. So we can go on to the next slide. So what does AOC mean and who is AOC, right? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She is the youngest woman elected to U.S. Congress at 28 years old. Congresswoman AOC is a Bronxite, an educator and organizer from the Bronx and Queens. And this is according to her website. Ocasio-Cortez grew up experiencing the reality of New York's rising income inequality. She organized her community, ran for office, and some of the policies that she supports. They're on the slide. We have the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, those types of policies, right? So you can research that with more time. And then whenever you have a chance, Rochelle, we can go 3 slides forward. And so what do most people see when it comes to personalities like AOC or politicians like AOC? If you've noticed, she was in the cover of Time magazine. She was also in the cover of Vanity Fair and other great publications. And so a lot of people see the visual, the phenomenon, the glitz and glamour of politics, right? And it seems like that's what politics is about, right? She'll do live streaming, right? We have access to her on YouTube. We have these short videos that go viral, right? And so a lot of people see AOC and what they see is celebrity. And so they think politics is about celebrity, right? So when the slides are forwarded, I shared some of the pictures of those magazine covers so that you can see for yourself, right? And so what do most people see? They see the celebrity, right? So let's go into some stats. Her Twitter following has climbed from 49,000 to over 3.5 million. Thousands of people tune in to watch her make black bean soup or repot her houseplants on Instagram Live. Immediately after she tweeted the name of her signature red lipstick, which is Beso by Stilla, it sold out online. Okay. AOE spends the final days of October drumming up blue votes by playing Among Us with supporters online, while more than 400,000 people watch via the live stream platform Twitch. So, as a recap, she has used social media to create a kind of influencer personality as a politician, and has played video games on live stream, has been cooking food on live stream as well. So these are some of the different ways that most people see her, right? As a celebrity, or maybe the more human side of a politician. Whenever it's possible, Rochelle, to go to the next couple of slides. So what I'm doing, given our technical difficulties, is that I do have access to the slides myself. So I'm moving forward, and I'm currently just finished not slide 9 for anyone that is following along. So now we're going to slide 10. Slide 10 is what they don't see. Okay. So what I would like to present to you is that what most people don't see is that in a position like for Congress, we have Sarah, right? Sarah is running for Congress. And I guess, Sarah, I'll ask you a question. Are you aware? Oh, sorry, I thought that was Sarah coming on. Hi, Rochelle. Whenever you have the chance, if we can go on to the next, to slide 10. So, Sarah, I'm going to ask you a question, if that's okay. Are you aware? We'll go to slide 10. So, Sarah, my question to you is, are you aware that AOC has received death threats as a Congress member?
Yes, I am.
And hearing that, does that make you pause? Like, how do you process that as a woman that is also running for Congress? And maybe you may have views that are controversial. Like, how, first of all, what do you think about it, or how do you feel about that? How would you manage that yourself? And
That's a
Rochelle, whenever it's possible, if we can go to slide 10, that would be amazing.
That's a really great question. So 2 years ago, when I ran for state senate, I did receive death threats myself. As a woman of color running in a district where there are lots of supporters that have opposing views to myself. I think what's important when you think about running for office, especially if you're a woman or you're someone of color or you're an Indigenous person, it's important that we have very real, truthful discussions that racism is alive and well in this country, and especially in our government. But that is one of the reasons why I chose to run. I think the more of us that run, the more of us that get elected, the more that we make it just normal that our government is comprised of the colorful melting pot that America is made up of.
Agreed. And thank you. And wow, Sarah.
Nayma, can you just tell me which slide is slide 10? I don't see them numbered anywhere. I'm sorry, honey.
No, it's okay. It's actually the next one after that one.
Okay, I got it. Sorry about that. Apologize. Go ahead.
Okay, no need to apologize. It's all great. So, Sarah, thank you for sharing that. It's almost like, first and foremost, I have no words because you've experienced this yourself. So I'm glad that you have not given up, and that you're pushing forward with politics. Myself, I have received, let's just say, when I ran for office, there were certain threats made. There were intimidation tactics that were practiced, and some folks just consider that, quote unquote, part of the democratic process. Welcome to running for office. I don't agree that it should be that way. It should not be that way. That is unacceptable. And at the end of towards the end of my race, I realized that I couldn't continue keeping silence. And, I spoke up about it at some point. So if we look at the slide here, it talks about what they don't see. I'll read what it says. AOC tweeted this. What people don't realize is when organizations air hateful messages, my life changes because of the flood of death threats they inspire. I've had mornings where I wake up and the first thing I do with my coffee is review photos of the men who want to kill me. That was AOC's tweet shared right there. And an example, a Coast Guard lieutenant and self-proclaimed white nationalist was arrested hoarding a stockpile of guns with a plot to kill Ocasio-Cortez, Vice Presidential candidate Kamala Harris, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and others. So, being that this is an organization about women running for office, I do want to point out that this self-proclaimed white nationalist was literally targeting these prominent women in politics. Right? We had a vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Right? So these are just things to consider in terms of the seriousness of running for office. It's like I said earlier, it's not about celebrity. There's so much more that goes into it. And of course, to be fair, this is not something you'll encounter in every race and everywhere, but it's just something to be mindful of. You need to know what territory you're getting into when you're running for office. Who are the stakeholders politically? Just so that you are not taken by surprise. We can go on to the next slide. So in the next slide, we're going to explore the idea of how did AOC get to a position of power? And yeah, we can. So how did AOC get into a position of power? And I like to answer that by saying it was a rare moment in time. All right. Sarah, I don't know how involved you would like to be in this presentation. If you would like to be, that's great. If not, I will leave you alone. But so I say that it's a rare moment in politics that that led to AOC winning, similarly to Trump winning, right? So I say a rare moment in time. Some will say the answer is preparation, a great team, great messaging, being in the race, right? So some folks may say that the reason that AOC won is because of what I just mentioned: the preparation, the team, the messaging, hitting the streets. But that is not why she won. I would like to present that that's not why she won. And I say that because we literally have the example of Hillary Clinton. She also had the preparation. She also had a great team. She also had great messaging. She was also in the race, hitting the pavement. And still, she did not win the presidential race in 2008, and she did not win in 2016. And so you can run for office and have great preparation, have a great team, have great infrastructure, great messaging, and still not win because there are greater factors at play. And also, timing is very delicate in politics. Some factors cannot be quantified. Some of them can, depending on the lens that you use and the different perspective to analyze things on the horizon. And this is say that AOC's victory was not due to what the eye can see. In a way, we can argue that both AOC and Trump are serving a greater purpose. If we analyze it from the lens of sometimes, in order for things to be healed, they first need to be addressed. And in order for them to be addressed, they need to be brought up to the surface, right? And there are, first and foremost, I love this country. This is my country, the United States of America. And just like every other country, and just like every human being that exists on the planet, we all have areas of improvement. We all have areas where we can be better. And so when it comes to politics and phenomenons like AOC and Trump, we see folks bringing things to the surface, bringing topics, bringing issues, bringing elements that require healing and elements that require immediate attention, courage, and action to act upon them. So, so that's what I would like to present to you all. So, what do I call the AOC effect? A simple breakdown is the following. I have spoken to many women that want to run for office and just people in general that are getting more involved in the community. And what I call the AOC effect is number one, people wanting to run for office because it seems like the cool thing to do. All right. It for running for office for some people, it's about, you know, wearing the lipstick that AOC wears or dressing the way that she dresses up, right? A simple example, candidates make videos like hers. They they posture enough and expect magic. One fun fact, if you notice a lot of the political uh, pictures were there was a transition, or let's just say there was a shift in the official campaign pictures that were used after Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez won Congress. So if you remember when she ran for office, her official picture was one where she was kind of like looking away and looking up. And the whole ideal of that is representing hope, and there's possibilities in the way that she was looking up. And so a lot of folks that were running for office afterwards started using the same style and the same pose in their official pictures. So that's part of the AOC effect, right? And and so on the area of improvement, I wrote down here lacking awareness. What AOC accomplished was a special unicorn moment in politics. Other unicorn moments, which are not easily replicated, include the convergence of factors leading to Obama winning the president, the convergence of factors leading to Donald Trump winning the presidency. Those are all unicorn moments in time as well in politics. And so, like I said before, one of the biggest effects of the AOC of AOC running for office is that a lot of people lack the understanding of what life in public service is really about because they are blinded by the glitz and glamour. So, so hopefully throughout this presentation, you're getting more of a sense of what it's like to run for office or be involved in politics. It's actually a life of sacrifice. There, number one, you have a lot of studying to do to make sure you're up to date on policies, right? You have to be up to date on what's going on in your community, which means that your nights are going to be long usually, right? You have to kind of be on call 24/7. If anything happens in your neighborhood, then folks are going to expect an answer from you or some sort of commentary, right? So it requires a lot on top of the fact that you then will have to continuously prepare to run for office if you want to stay in that position as an elected official, right? So it's kind of nonstop. So you have to have that in mind as a consideration. We can go on to the next slide. So I have here what is the side effect of the AOC effect, and actually we kind of covered this, so we can actually go on to the next one. So it's just about inaccurate perception of what it takes to run for office, or inaccurate perception of the high price to pay for being in the public eye. That's something that folks need to keep in mind when considering a run for office. And we can go on to the next slide. So this is where we enter more of the self-analysis part of the presentation. And I'll just read. It says, the following section may possibly cause a bit of discomfort for some. It will require raising a mirror to yourself. It's not easy work. But if you find that some observations resonate with you, we work through those emotions And feel free to reach out to me through Rochelle. So if you have any questions, please reach out to Rochelle, and I would love to schedule, even if it's a 15-20 minute call, and we can talk about this in depth, or if there's a particular question. So for me, it's really important to help increase or support people in terms of self-awareness. It's something that is very important to me, because I feel like the more self-aware we are as people, then the better we can serve. And why is that, Naima? Well, it's because if you're self-aware, that means you're also paying attention to other people, and you may be able to perceive whether it's emotionally or more on a uh, let's say mentally, or just through body language, you're able to understand other people better or read them better, which allows us for, I would say, better interactions, right? So we're approaching the conversation of running for office from the perspective which is often not talked about, and some may consider it taboo. Um, and it's part of the reason why sometimes we see 20 candidates all aiming for the same seat, right? And it is why sometimes the better candidate may be opaque by a more mediocre candidate. Um, and sometimes when there are too many folks in a race, the votes get split in a way which usually benefit incumbents. And sometimes incumbents deserve to remain in their seats because they're doing a great job. But sometimes incumbents get complacent, and we do need folks that are going to be prioritizing the needs of their community first, right? So this next part of the presentation is more about self-analysis, just presenting some ideas to think about. We can go on to the next one. And so one of the questions is, have you subconsciously been affected by the AOC effect? So Rochelle, whenever you have a moment, feel free to go on to the next slide, and I will continue. So have you subconsciously been affected by the AOC effect? I would recommend getting a piece of paper and actually just writing out your answers, almost like journaling. And so privately analyze your motives to run for office. Why are you running for office? Is it excitement about politics being more popular now, right? Like I mentioned, the glitz and glamour of politics based on phenomenons like AOC or phenomenons like Trump that sometimes make politics look like a celebrity thing, right? So write down for yourself, you don't have to show this to anyone, but why are you really running for office? Um, then I want you to ask yourself this next question. Are you a Christopher Columbus or parachute politician? By the way, I made up these terms, and you'll see below explanations of what it means. So I'll give you an example. A Christopher Columbus politician moves to a neighborhood and claims the territory as theirs, ignoring the folks who have already been living and building there before Christopher landed on that territory. So a lot of times you'll see someone move into a neighborhood and they've been there maybe 6 months and they're like, okay, I'm running for office. So the only reason why I encourage folks to think about it a little bit more is because 6 months is not enough to learn and understand the fabric of the community that you live in. It is very important to understand the different stakeholders, whether it entails community-based organizations or the leadership in the PTAs or the precinct councils or the community board, or just like mom and pop's grassroots organizations and clubs and people, right? And to understand the nuances of how does transportation work in this neighborhood? How does the education, how does that work in this neighborhood, right? How are we doing in terms of environmental justice? How have policies impacted the community that I live in? So it's important to take the time to analyze all of those different factors before running for office. Um, and and like I said, right, there's folks that are living and building there. It's always good practice to reach out first, feel them out, right? You analyze their motives and analyze their actions and the results of their actions as well, right? And then you decide whether you're going to do it or not. Um, we can go on to the next slide. So here are some more, let's say, challenging questions, right? Again, it may cause discomfort, and again, I am willing to have a conversation around this if you'd like to have a conversation around it. So, one moment, please. Okay, so the next question you can write your answers to is: would you step back to support another woman to run for the position that you want to run for? Would you step back to support another woman and dismantle the quote unquote crabs in a barrel mentality? Keep in mind all these questions that I'm asking you to answer for yourself, I have answered for myself. And anything and everything that I have shared as suggestion or advice, I have practiced myself. And as it says there, it is possible. I have done it myself. There was a position that I was interested in running for, particularly city council at some point a few years ago. And, you know, in analyzing different circumstances and analyzing the candidates and the race, I could have definitely ran and made an impact. And it would have been great. However, I understood that there was someone in that I understood the following, that if I ran in that race, I was not going to win that race. However, a lot of times people run for office knowing that they will not win, but with the purpose of increasing name recognition. And so that's a decision you have to analyze the pros and cons. You make that decision. I make no judgment there. But what I realize is, you know what? I think this lady will do a great job. She seemed to be genuine in her approach, in her messaging, and what she wanted to accomplish, and it was in alignment with what I believed in. And so I decided to step back, not run for that seat, and support her in her race. So it is possible. Next question: have you considered other powerful positions which require political support aside from running for office? So, aside from Congress or Senate or Assembly or any of those seats, there are other seats you can consider, right? So, for example, in New York City in particular, we have NYPD precinct councils. And so members of the community can literally meet with the leadership of police and discuss issues around policing and issues in the community regarding public safety. Another area that you can consider is joining or looking into other groups such as community boards, right? There's also education councils, which are similar to the community boards, but they focus only on education. There are also boards for hospitals. There are boards for different areas, for example, sanitation. There are boards that support the cities with urban planning. So there's a lot to look into. If you're an attorney, then you can consider running for district attorney or attorney general, right? There's also different levels of becoming a judge. And lastly, that you also have labor unions which have elected office positions, if that's something that you're interested in as well. I do want to be clear. The name of this organization is Dare to Run. So I encourage the women that want to run for office to run for office. The only thing that I ask and the only thing that I encourage additionally is to be thoughtful about your approach, to really take the time to do some introspection, to analyze yourself, to analyze your motives, and to be clear on those things before you run, right? So that when you run, and this is just me, Naima, uh, some people are driven by power, some people are driven by most people are driven just by ego. Okay, that's fine. But there are plenty of us that are also driven by values and purpose, and some of us are driven by spirit, right? So for many of us there is this innate need to serve. For many of us it is a duty to be of service, in the same way that many folks consider it a duty to join the military and serve our country in that way. For many of us, community service or being in public office is also a way of serving or a duty. And so if that is the case, I would just like to ask that you honor that and that you're very clear about that in your journey of making the decision to run for office. So the last part is to also consider volunteer positions of influence, as I have mentioned before, school boards, community boards, because legislation and policy changes can be effectively advocated through NGOs and CBOs. And usually that is how many of them actually get to, that is how a lot of legislation actually gets moved forward. It is through the advocacy of many organizations and movements. So if there is an issue that is near and dear to your heart, then I encourage you to seek out ways to get involved on a policy level or get involved on in the way that your skill sets and capacity and time allow you to get involved. But think about this. If you are going to run for office, you need to make the time for it and to prepare for it in advance. And so volunteering for any of the examples that I have given is a great way to also start that preparation. We can go on to the next slide. And we can actually, I think these are kind of fun, but there was some other terms that I had come up with in terms of explaining what a parachute politician is. I won't get too into it. I'll just give you the definition. But a parachute politician is someone who literally gets paid. For example, folks get paid to run for office just because there is an interest group that hates the incumbent. And so they'll find someone that's willing to run, of course, getting paid. Let's just say they figure out how to make sure that they're paid, right? So there's people that run for office not because of a greater purpose or because of being of service, but just because of financial gain, right? And there's literally folks that just move into the district just to run for an open seat. So hey, it happens. No judgment, but it's just important to know like what is what, right? And we can go to the last slide. So to close this self-analysis section, I would just like to say it is okay to be excited about politics. It is important to set aside time to meditate. The things that I shared in terms of some of these types of politicians, these are things that usually are unspoken. Oh, it's okay. We can go to the last slide. I'm just gonna close out. So yeah, I just want to say, like, if you find that you've been doing everything from a genuine place because you want to be of service, because you want to make things better, because you want to take action, and you feel that you can you can do good things as an elected official, right? And when I say good things, I'm talking about you have ideas in terms of legislation and policy and ways to improve things in your community, then I would say to go forth. Um, and I would say to go forth ethically and do not perpetuate dirty politics or the dirty ways that people do politics. It is within your power not to do so. Um, and I am here as a resource. Like I said, you can reach out to Rochelle if you would like to connect with me. I am a member of my community board. I'm also part of my neighborhood advisory board. I run a girls leadership program in my community, and I am in the process of launching a community service initiative as well in these upcoming months. So yeah, thank you, Rochelle, for the opportunity to present this. And once again, my name is Nayma Silver, and if you would like to continue the dialogue, I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nam. I really do appreciate it. Apology for the technical difficulties. You did an amazing job, and we're always so happy to have you. Thank you so much. And you as well, Sarah. Very much appreciated, both of you presenting tonight.
Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you for
Thank
creating
you.
this.
Of course. Have a good night, ladies. Feel free to, before we go, I just want to share my email. If anybody has any questions for either Naima or Sarah, you can reach out to me directly at rsuissa, S-U-I-S-S-A, @daretorun.org. And I'm so happy to connect you with either speaker or both, if that's your wish. They're both amazing women, and I'm sure that you can learn quite a bit from them, way more than you learned tonight. So
Thank you, Rochelle.
thank you. Have a good evening, everybody. Be well.
Bye.
Bye. Hold on one second. Let's see.
Rochelle, I don't know if you would like to stop the recording.
Yeah, it's gonna stop when we end the meeting. Yeah, don't worry about it, Naima. It's gonna stop when we end the meeting. No worries, honey. Have a good night, okay?
Have a good night. Thank you, Rochelle.